Look at this one. I want to talk. Listen to me.
Let me be clear.
What we have here.
Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon. Listen in as him and other members of the J. Harmon Home Team speak about all things real estate with local experts here in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out jharmonhometeam.com for more information and how to get in touch with our amazing team. Welcome to the show.
All right. Hello. Happy Monday, everybody. It's Jonathan Harmon with the J. Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. And we are here for This Week in Real Estate. We've got Mr. Michael Shirley. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you? Hello, listeners.
So he is an animated, interesting human being, and I cannot wait to
My
talk.
mom says I'm special.
You're quite special. Yes, sir. We're going to talk roads and small business and all kinds of stuff. Before we do that, though, before I forget, we do want to thank our friend Bryan Nale with Primis Mortgage and all the things that he does here in our community and specifically here on the Spread the Positive Network. Bryan, thank you for helping bring light to what's going right.
Hey, my name is Bryan Nale. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Bank Mortgage. I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission and helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's truly a pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com.
Primis Mortgage is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Primis Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
Where was that? I thought that was in
he said, fucking nail your mortgage.
Nail your mortgage. Okay,
yeah. But hearing Bryan, hearing Rachel, hearing that jazzy, uplifting. Yeah.
It's what everybody needs on a Monday.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah. We should do this much earlier in the No, we shouldn't. Never mind.
You could come to the road. We had a road board meeting this morning at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
You could have been there.
I could have, but I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Michael Shirley, and I've gotten to know Michael, actually probably started, we've met a couple times, but then really got to know each other last year.
A year ago.
Yeah. Right. Almost to the day, right? Yep. At the Clue Party. He was Colonel Mustard. I was Professor Plum. Neither one of us were the murderer.
That's right.
So it was okay.
We did a good job of casting blame all around.
Everywhere.
That's what we're going to do today.
We spread discord like nobody's business. It was fantastic. But Missy just sent me the information for the current Professor Plum, because us Plums got to stick together. Mm-hmm. The men in purple. What can I say? And so anyway, if you feel so inclined, check out my Facebook and donate to Professor Plum. It's a good cause this year. That was a good cause last year, but it's a good cause this year as well. The Murfreesboro Kiwanis Club does all kinds of good things right here.
It's a great event. If listeners aren't familiar with it, it's at the Oakland's Mansion. Mm-hmm. It's a live Clue event. So it's a basically dinner theater, interactive, immersive dinner theater. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. I had a really good time last year.
It was a lot of fun. And you had some serious facial hair going on.
I had trimmed it I grew it out and trimmed it I had the mutton chop sideburns and over into a big mustache. It was good.
It was epic.
Had my safari hat that I'd got offline.
Yeah. You're looking good. I had a pipe that had no tobacco in it because I don't smoke.
Can't smoke in the Oakland's Mansion.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, it was super fun. So anyway, support that endeavor. It's coming up here real soon. And like I said, they're trying to raise money for the Kiwanis Club that does a ton of good right here in our community. So good cause. Speaking of good causes, Rutherford County has a lot of roads, has a lot of people that drive on those roads. Mm-hmm. And there's a tremendous amount of misunderstanding about the upkeep and planning and maintenance of those roads. And from what I understand, and I'm going to tell you what I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. There's basically 3 different types of roads here in, or probably 4 here in Rutherford County, right? So you've got the city level, right? So this is your neighborhood streets and things like that.
Municipalities. Yep.
Yep. And this could be whether it's Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, whatever, right? Eagleville. And then you've got county roads, which are maintained and planned by the road board that we were just discussing. You've got state highways, which would be something like Broad Street, Highway 96, in all of its various names and iterations.
Right.
And then, of course, we've got a federal highway with I-24.
Correct.
And 840 is still a state highway. Is that correct?
Nope. It's federal as well. But those are administered by TDOT. So both of those, they kind of fall under state guidelines, regulations, and oversight.
And so what we run into, and I've had this conversation with Mayor McFarland and some other folks as well, is, people are like, oh, when are you going to fix the whatever on whatever?
Right.
And he's like, man, that's a state highway.
Right.
You got to go way above my head.
That's right.
In order to get funding and even planning for that. So we can gripe about it, but there's really, truly not much that Murfreesboro can do.
They have to maintain a good working relationship, or they might find that the roads take even longer to get fixed.
Yes.
So it's building good relationships and working relationships and helping to decide what's the most pressing matters in the area to get fixed.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Prioritizing. Right.
Yeah. But those are out of those in a lot of ways are completely out of our hands.
Sure.
Yep.
Now, Rutherford County does tend to get things done pretty well.
Very well.
Because, the state is aware of the economic impact that is, provided here, and roads obviously being a huge piece of that. And what I think is interesting is that a lot of folks, they never really think about how, right? Like they just are like, oh, there's roads because there's always been roads as far as they're concerned. And, there's just roads. And it's really not that simple at all.
No.
It is way more complicated than that. And I know you and I talked a little bit about what the county road board is, and how you found yourself on it, which is an interesting story.
Because news flash, I have never built a road before.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
right.
why am I on the road board? Yeah, we can talk about that.
So let's start with that. So tell us, you were talking about how it's kind of the forgotten board. And so what is it? What does it do? What does it not do? How'd you get on it? And yeah.
So I like to always talk about the what does the listener care about? They want to know what the heck. If I have a problem on my road, who do I call? And you've already alluded to it. It may not be a simple answer. There may be different people that we have to go through. So the Rutherford County Highway Department is who oversees the upkeep of our roads and right-of-ways that are in the Rutherford County Road Book. And for our viewers, this year's is this ugly orange color. But
in case you're using it on the side of the road.
You can hold it up, yes, or you can use it to go cheer for a certain football team, wave it in the air.
Yeah,
but
we
last year's
won't
was
do that.
blue, so I did like last year's book better.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is a book. It just has every single road listed in that the Rutherford County Highway Department is responsible for. And it tells you even like certain roads we do maintain, but let's talk about Main Street, for example. Okay. Starts at the square and goes towards Woodbury, right? Well, it's city up until a certain spot. Once you cross Rutherford Boulevard, it goes a few more 100 feet, a little around close to what was that called? Not the wagon wheel, the handlebar. It switches to a county road. Okay, so this book tells us exactly where the city stops and the county starts as far as who's responsible for a piece of road.
Right.
So sometimes people will call me and they're like, I live in your district, or I represent Zone 3. And so they may live in Zone 3, but live in the city of Murfreesboro. I don't have any, they can call me, but there's not really a lot I can do because the county's not in charge of that road or right of way. Okay. So, but I know the people at the city to call, and a lot of times I just give them the phone number.
When we're talking right of way, what we're talking about is typically the ditch, the side of the road.
That's right. The ditch. So, the Rutherford County Highway Department is responsible for the upkeep, repair and upkeep of the county roads, right-of-ways, bridges, and drainage easements that can go farther off the road.
Sure.
The drainage easement can. So we're responsible for those things. What we are not responsible for is building like the neighborhood roads. So when people talk a lot about development, right? Should pay for itself. The county is not building the
Correct.
neighborhood roads.
The building developer
builds those
builds the
roads.
roads and then deeds them over.
Correct.
Mhm.
And now they have a warranty that's attached to them. So
Mhm.
not only do they build the roads according to our regulations, as far as like the base layers and the width and the drainage and things like that, but then they have to guarantee that road for a year after they turn it over to us. And they don't turn it over to the highway department until the neighborhood is substantially complete.
Right.
I don't remember exactly I don't remember if it's like they can turn it over at 80% or 85% or if it has to be 100%. I don't remember that. But when they do turn it over, it comes with a 1-year warranty. They bond, like they have to put down a bond, and they don't get their money back until
Right.
it passes that warranty period.
And I remember this wasn't with the county, but with the city, there was a big thing about that a couple years ago in Berkshire subdivision, where the developer bonds were not good, or they didn't
Okay,
complete
yeah.
them. I don't remember exactly, but that were
You
serious issues.
Yep. I
And
mean, if a developer goes belly up, like if you don't have that money in hand, like
Yeah.
that's too late. We today at our road board meeting, we adopted or took over a neighborhood that didn't come with a warranty because it was started before that was put in place.
Mhm.
So things change, regulations change, and the way that we do things changes and updates. And
Sure.
now the developer builds the road. They build it to our standards. Our engineers go out there throughout the project to make sure that they're doing it, that the developer is doing it correctly. Then they turn it over to us. It comes with the warranty. At the end of that, our engineers go back out there, drive over the roads, look for any issues, and then bring it to the road board to adopt into the road book.
Mhm.
Now, currently, there are 980.185 miles of road that the county is responsible for.
Wow.
That's so let's just call it 1,000. Since I have been elected, I was elected in 2020. It was about the same. So new roads are being developed. The new neighborhoods are coming into the book, but also roads are going out. So the city of Murfreesboro will annex neighborhoods or roads and rights of way, and that takes it off of our books. So every year that I've been on the board, roads are leaving the county road book and going to a city municipality,
Mhm.
and new roads are coming in, okay, into the road book. And we've stayed around that 980, 990 miles of road.
Is there an obligation when that happens for the county to bring a road up to a certain spec in order for the city to adopt it?
No, but we will sometimes be, we will not add roads to our book that aren't to standard, right? So if this is happening, this is no longer, we're not doing these anymore in the county where we do those flag properties, where
Mhm.
it's like a big farm is being divided
You
and
got a
they've got this
chunk here, and
yeah
then it goes.
yeah, it's like they look like flags. So it's like they have access. So each property might have a really long driveway, right? Or they'll share a long driveway, and then those people that are responsible for a shared driveway decide, well, why don't we just give this road to the county and let them take care of it? Well, if it wasn't built to standards, we're not taking it over,
Right.
right? So developers do have a certain standard that they have to meet in order for us to take that road over.
And otherwise, they just do a maintenance agreement in
The people that share that
it's
driveway,
essentially a tiny HOA.
correct, and then they're responsible for the gravel or asphalt and ditches, and we won't go out. We are not allowed to leave our roads and go off of them to fix people's driveways and
Mhm.
stuff like that. We don't do that.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes we will leave the county rights of way and things to fix drainage issues, but we have to get special easements and things like that to do that. We're
Sure.
not allowed to spend money off of outside of this road book.
Yeah. Well, that
So,
makes sense.
yeah, it makes perfect sense, right?
Right.
So typically, when the city of Murfreesboro comes to the county highway department, the road board, um, they will be asking for. They don't have to, I guess, but they try to keep a good relationship, right? Like, hey, we're thinking this owner has requested for annexation, and in order for us to get to that property, we're going to need to annex the road. Well, you're not going to see a lot of pushback from the highway department when the city's wanting to take over the maintenance of roads, right?
Right.
Because otherwise, like think about be, because the law was changed that you can't do forced annexation, right? Now you're getting property owners that aren't connected to the city that are requesting to be annexed. Well, the only way the city can annex that is if they touch that property.
Yeah, they can't have an island.
Correct. They
Mhm.
can't have an island. So if there are landowners in between where the development is wanting to go and where the city is, the only way to bridge that gap is usually the road. And so they'll come to us and request for annexation. They have different standards for some of their neighborhood roads and streets. And so, think about, let's just say, just for an example's sake, that there's a 500-acre farm that is wanting to be annexed by the city. We know that they're gonna put a large number of homes on there, right? Well, if that's gonna increase the traffic on the county roads, so why not give it to the city to let them take over the maintenance for
Sure.
the traffic that's being generated by the residents of Murfreesboro City?
Right.
So it's I think, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that's good policy. Like,
Yeah, I was curious. Do you get territorial about that with the city at all?
I have not seen any territorial battles.
Yeah.
I think what I have, what is the name of that road? I'll think of it in a minute. It's going out Las Casas. It's the road Emory. That's a county road, right? And so from 96 to Osborne Lane, that's a county road. If it's not 95%, it's gotta be really close to 95% of the traffic that travels on that little stretch of county road is Murfreesboro City residents, right?
Right.
It's a lot of traffic. I think that the city should take over that piece of road, and, they won't do it unless there's a property owner that's being requested to annex it being annexed into the city. So they're not excited. They're not, like, chomping at the bit to take over more responsibility for roads, but sometimes I'm trying to think, I think you should, because the only reason that road's in such bad repair is because of the many thousands of car trips that are taking over, or that are transpiring over that piece of road that wouldn't have happened except for the city of Murfreesboro has
Right.
built a big, huge neighborhood there.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
now we experienced that same issue out in the county with roads that were not originally built for large numbers of cars when a piece of property, a farm or a large piece of property is developed. So oh, go ahead.
And that's oftentimes the issue, right? Is, Farmer Johnson sells, like you said, his 500 acres,
Mhm.
and it's 2 miles out,
Right.
and it gets developed. They have enough soil to do a step system.
Mhm. Oh,
So
yeah.
you're out in the county.
Yep.
Consolidated's going to take over the step system, and so it can be its own little independent little
Right.
community out there. Except that all that goes out there is, you know, Bubba Road or whatever the crap it's
Correct.
called.
Yeah.
That was a cow path that somebody
Correct.
threw a little bit of
Correct.
bagged asphalt over,
So
and that's it.
people call me. So this is funny. Let's take a history of roads. Okay. So you mentioned, you kind of alluded to this at the very beginning of our show today. These roads, we just take for granted that they've always been there. Okay. There are, of the 980.185 miles that I mentioned, almost all of that is paved. I think there might be like 3 miles of unpaved or less of
Right.
unpaved road.
Now,
Correct.
right.
When I was growing up here, we lived on a gravel road that is now paved with
Yes.
thousands of cars on it.
Sure.
Okay. And the people that move in out there take for granted that it's paved. But what we
A lot of
have,
them started out as cow paths, though.
correct. And or they were, the roads were built along the property lines
Right.
of farms. Or I'm gonna farmers would travel through the parts of their farm that weren't good for growing crops, right? Why drive through the middle of your most productive field?
Right.
So you would drive around the edge of your productive fields.
Mhm.
And those became the well-worn paths. And then when we started putting gravel down, that's where we put the gravel, and that became the county roads. And the paving started in the 80s,
Right.
right? So really all of these 1,000 miles of road have been paved over the past 25 years. Or, well,
Mhm.
I guess that's more like 40. So
You're old.
I am old. So that's happened over the past 40 years. But for all the time before that, they were not paved.
Sure.
Okay. So you're right. They were not paved for tractor trailers bringing lumber and building materials down 'em.
No, I mean, they're a lane and a half at best, some of them.
Some of them are
Right.
literally a lane.
Yeah,
Like
and
Cason Lane was a lane.
Yes.
Like, and that did just happen over the past 30 years. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when it was literally a lane.
Yeah.
And
Look at Manson Pike, that
yep.
whole area out
Oh
there.
man, I could tell
Yeah.
some stories about Manson Bike. Yeah,
Yeah.
growing up, you
Same.
know. Yeah, so
and so you stick the very first delivery truck, the very first dump truck on there to haul gravel in for the new subdivision, and that pavement,
Yep.
if you want to even call it that, it's basically stuck
Right.
together gravel. It starts doing this number.
Yep, starts waving. We get the dips and the potholes developing, and it's because we're putting big trucks and lots of traffic on roads that weren't originally built for that. Now, over time, they have been brought up. All of our roads are to standard. Like the county road book is, all of our roads can handle that amount of weight.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I'll show you some.
No, and if you have them, you should call us. And,
Yeah.
and our we'll talk a little bit about make a note here somewhere, Trent, to make sure we talk about what do people do when they have a problem. But you call us, they fix it. They'll come out there and look at it. But yes,
There's still some dinky little roads out there,
there are
that are
some-
not made for tractor trailers.
Correct. 100%.
Or dump trucks.
Oh yeah.
Or
And certainly not more than one at a time.
yes.
Right. So there are lots of roads that are not very wide, that aren't 18 feet wide.
Yes.
Right. So it is troublesome when you have a big development being put together. And I think you will find that the opinion of my opinion, I'm not here to tell farmers what they can do with their land.
Sure.
Okay. So, if they decide that that's what their family wants to do, that's what they can do. And the roads that are built inside that new neighborhood are to standard. But the roads that connect that brand new neighborhood with roads that are very good to the state route, like let's just say out where I live, in the Buchanan area, we got to get from the farm to Bradeville Pike or Manchester Pike, right? Those roads are still not well improved county roads.
Yeah.
And they're not
No
meant for-
shoulders.
no
Yeah.
shoulders. And when we say no shoulders, we mean a drop off into a drainage ditch.
A steep,
A
large,
correct.
like fit a whole car.
I have seen the Papa John's pizza delivery on Cedar Grove Road when they are looking at their next delivery and take their eyes off. That road is curvy and it goes
Mhm.
straight down.
Yeah.
I have seen multiple cars either in the ditch on their sides or stuck, where two wheels are on the road and
Yep.
two wheels are hanging on the ditch and
Yep.
they're stuck on the road.
It'll eat a Honda Civic.
It will 100%. And our young drivers or inexperienced drivers are driving too fast. They go off, they overcorrect, and that causes a flip, man. I mean, they'll roll their cars over and die, and that's tragic. And the only way to fix those, it takes a lot of work to fix those types of issues because you're filling in ditches and moving them. And then there may be CUD or Middle Tennessee Electric
Right.
that you have to deal with. And so one thing I would tell people is slow down, be careful. But it is a challenge. Who pays for that?
Well, and you mentioned it. So when you look at something and you go, well, there's, here's the white line and you've got, a foot
2 inches
of pavement
No,
or less.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, okay, well, can't they just add a shoulder? No, because immediately below that is a water line.
Right.
And right next to that is, the electric line. And or a pole is right there or
Right.
whatever.
And also people say many people will say that they want the roads improved until we come along and say we need you to sell us or give us
10 feet of road,
10 feet of your
yard.
property. Well, I don't do that. I want to get paid.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have the money to do that.
Right.
Because what if we have A, B, and C property owners and A and C agree, but B that's right in between them says no,
Yeah, you
not
can't
doing
take
it.
a road and do
Yeah, you can't.
this.
Yep. So either everybody's on board or
Right.
it doesn't get done.
right.
And the highway department, I will say Greg Brooks is our road superintendent. He does a fantastic job. He is a very smart. He has lots of years of experience and knows how to get these roads taken care of and bridges upkept and motivating a team of many employees. He does a fantastic job. There's no extra money Like, we can't go and spend thousands of dollars to buy rights of way for a stretch of road
Right.
to widen it by 2 feet.
Right.
Because if people will drive slow, they can stay on the road.
Well, and
But also, it just you've got to figure out, okay, do we widen this road or do we fix that bridge over there that's
right.
getting put on the TDOT's watch
Right.
list?
That's crumbling.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and widening a road by 2 feet doesn't mean acquiring 2 feet, because
Correct.
you've got to you stretch it out, and if you've got a ditch there, from this space to this space, linear, we can accommodate the water flow
Right.
with this type of a
Yeah,
ditch.
right.
Well, then all of a sudden the topography changes because you come down a hill,
Yeah.
and now instead of needing this wide, we need this wide
Correct.
because we're not downhill anymore. We're flat.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so you get into all kinds of engineering. 2 feet wider road does not mean a 2 feet wider
It
easement.
usually means like 10 or 15.
hmm
And how many of us want to give up 15 feet of our front yard? I mean, let's be honest. I would be. I live on a turn. Would I want them coming through my front yard? No, I've worked really hard on my landscaping, right, in my flower beds and all this stuff. And oh man, and so how many people are altruistic that will just give 15 feet of their front yard to the county so we can widen it by 2 feet so that we can.
Well, and some people don't have it to give.
Well, that's true.
I lived on Bradyville Pike in a house, and from my front porch steps to the road
Mhm.
was like 23 feet.
Yep.
So if I give up 10 feet, I have a road
Right.
literally at the bottom of my
Right.
steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people on County Farm Road now, Joe B. Jackson, could empathize with what
Yeah.
that's like to lose half your front yard for a road improvement project. So, it's a challenge. And so not only are we trying to, when people talk about the number one issue, if you talk to politicians, we're coming up on election year next year, right? You're going to hear talk about, well, growth. How do we manage growth and traffic? Those are the number 1 and 2 complaints. Flip flop them whichever way you want. Road
And ultimately the same
thing,
same
right?
issue,
Right.
right? Different side.
It takes really creative solutions to do that, and the highway department is trying to do that and take care of what we already have,
Right.
and fix and repair this infrastructure that was all built around the same time,
Right.
right? So the 50s, 60s, 70s, when we're putting in these bridges and taking away, we have slabs over like County Farm Road near the community care, or the slab that's right there on Epps Mill or Elam.
Where it does this.
Yep. And
Yeah.
where it's literally you go down and go over a concrete slab through the creek. Those are the places where turn around, don't drown.
Yeah.
It's because there isn't a bridge there. It's a slab. That's how all our river crossings were
Yeah.
when we first started.
Or you
And
go
now we
out.
have bridges that were built again in the 50s, 60s, 70s. They're all just like me. I just said I'm 44 now. I'm starting to have issues, right? Age is taking its toll on me, whether I want to admit it or
Right.
not. These bridges are older than that.
But you still,
they're
and you
starting to
still
have
even have
issues.
some Rocky Fork Road, right there by the Methodist Church. I can't think of the name of it. You cross a rock.
Right. That's
You turn and
right.
drive over a rock.
Yeah.
It is not even a slab.
Right.
It is a
Yep.
rock.
Yep. And so, a bridge is that's millions of dollars for a small bridge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A modern.
Up to standard, and you have to think about flooding, and with the development comes more water runoff and things like that. We have to account for all that. So bridges have to be higher, wider, stronger. That's more expensive.
Mhm.
And we're think about Plainview project. Plainview School area was built, and now we're putting buses out there where buses weren't going as much, and all the extra cars. And we're trying to take turns out, 90-degree turns for buses. It's impossible for them to make a turn without leaving their lane of travel,
Right.
right? But they're not allowed to leave the lane of travel, but they have to,
Mhm.
and you got 80 kids on the bus. Like we need to make road improvements so that our kids can be safe getting to school and that our people can be safe getting to work. So the highway department isn't like, we don't have an official opinion about growth, right? Our job is to respond to the growth as it's being approved and make sure that the infrastructure is in place
And take care of what we got.
exactly, to get people safely to and from work, to and from school, to and from church, to and from MTSU football games. Like that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge because there's only so much money
Yeah.
coming in.
That's it. and you know you're going to have maintenance, right? And you look at every ice storm. I'm sure you guys sit there and go,
the where they're making budget changes because of overtime. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
There's money set aside for making sure that when the snow comes, the salt trucks hit the road.
yeah.
And our county does such a good job.
They do,
of
even for the
responding.
most rural roads.
Yep.
But even after that, that's only the tip of the iceberg, right? So to speak, is okay, we got all the ice and snow. Holy cow. Did you see the pothole that formed on this one?
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse,
Correct. And here's another. This is just an example of how things change quickly. Are you familiar with ash trees?
Yes.
The emerald ash borer has decimated Rutherford County ash trees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you drive around the county, you will see all these beautiful trees, in the middle of spring and summer. Now we're going into fall, so things are losing their leaves anyway. But there's all these big, huge 50, 60-foot dead trees, right, that are hanging over the road. Well, the emerald ash borer has killed those trees. Well, now they're just dying. They're sitting up there.
And they're enormous.
So
and
they're
the
just
first
waiting.
ice storm?
Yep. And so
windstorm?
guess who takes care of that? The highway department. Our public works crews are going out there. That's going to be a problem as we have that. That's an invasive bug that is now affecting the highway department's budget and how we keep our roads open so that our emergency traffic can get through. So a tornado, let's just call it a snowpocalypse, thunder snow. Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah.
So it's snowing, it's icing, it's a thunderstorm, winds going, trees are falling, blocking roads, and somebody has a medical emergency. The ambulance can't even get there.
And you've got 5 60-foot dead ash trees.
Yep. And
between here and there.
Exactly. And a big neighborhood that's developed out in the middle of the county with county roads between it and where the emergency responders are.
Right.
Well, the first people that are going to go out there are with our first responders will also be our public works people out there with their chainsaws and backhoes moving and clearing those roads so the emergency response can get. And that perfect example of that was with the tornadoes that went through Reedville.
Yeah.
Our public works department was out there clearing roads and getting everything open for those people. So it's an amazing department. There's a lot of wheels moving in there, and Greg does a really good job of leading that department. Again, doing a lot with a little with budget.
Well, but you also have a work crew that is second to none as far as their willingness and ability to. I mean, they're essentially. Sometimes they are emergency workers.
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
Quite honestly, and they're going into situations where they're running a chainsaw to clear that 60-foot ash tree.
Right.
And by the way, there's a live electrical wire down.
Right.
And by the way, you're standing in moving water.
Correct.
And
when they're working, they are hard workers and they do a really good job. There's Greg to his credit and before him, Mike Williams, that there's a lot of people that work out there that have been there a long time, so their tenure is very good. But payroll's going up all across the country, right? And I know that Greg brought it to our attention today that we lost some younger and tenured employees because they got a higher paying job in the private sector.
Sure.
And so we have to be aware of that as well.
Yeah.
So a challenge to that is, how do we pay for it? So the revenue that comes in, for example, part of our revenue comes from the gas tax. So the state collects all that gas tax. It goes to the state, and then the state, in their infinite wisdom, doles it out. And that's a whole nother podcast episode of how that's done. But let's just say $1 goes to the state, and then they give us a certain percentage back. Let's call it a quarter, just for ease.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
So we're not even getting all of that's collected, right? So, but a portion of that is local. It comes back to us, and that's what funds the department. Well, as cars become more fuel efficient
or electric,
how do we get that money? So there's challenges. Rutherford County hasn't seen a big decrease because our growth has gone up.
Right.
So more people are moving into the county buying
But at
gas.
some point that will stabilize.
Correct. It can't. I guess Bucky's coming in, contributes like more gas revenue because people might stop here instead of making it out of state or something. But yeah, eventually that's not a sustainable way to operate, right? Because eventually that growth is going to stop or stabilize, as you said. And so how do we charge the electric car owners or these hybrids?
Well, that's just it. So you think about that, and historically, it made sense, right? So if you've got an old Toyota Camry, it used a certain amount of gas, but it also weighed a certain amount. So
Right.
the stress that it put on the road was
Mhm.
marginal compared to the F-350, right?
Right.
Well, now that's a hybrid or electric, right? And some of the trucks are significantly more efficient, and
Yep.
I'm all for that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the traditional way for revenue it's problematic.
Right.
And you've got a Tesla that weighs 4,500 pounds and pays zero in gas tax.
Right.
So it's putting more stress on the road than that Fiat or whatever
Right.
that
Yeah.
weighs 2,000 pounds.
For sure. Yeah.
And so
It's
what do you do about that?
you talk about it and shake your head and scratch your head and talk about increases to fees, and people makes people mad, and you and every and in the meantime, the highway department still has their job that by law they have to do.
Yeah, so you almost end up, and some people will take it this way, that you penalize the electric car owner,
Right.
right? But you're not really penalizing them. They've gotten a get out of tax
Yeah.
free card,
Right. Now they do pay. I think their bill. I think there's some things going in there,
There is.
licenses and stuff, and I think that's fine. And there's a lot of people that are thinking a lot about those types of revenue challenges that we have. But the fact is that those challenges exist, and every day the infrastructure that we have gets one day older.
Right.
So today we received a report about a bridge repair that we did out on Webb Road, where we tried a new way of repairing that bridge. So basically, most of our bridges, as you drive out around the county, are concrete, right?
Mhm.
Well, again, they were built in the let's just say the 60s, 70s. Okay. They're starting to show wear and tear. So on Webb Road, when they first built the bridge, the rebar wasn't put down as deep as it would have been if it was built today. So you could actually see exposed rebar as you drove
Mhm.
over it, like, right? You're driving over rebar bumps. So that we went out there rather than resurfacing or like jackhammering the whole bridge and repouring it for multiple millions of dollars. We started with a new epoxy treatment. So there was a many stages here that they ground off the top, they blasted it, they put a film like a mixture, filled in those spots, a rust inhibitor that will prevent any of that rebar from rusting. Then coated it and polished it, put down epoxy finish with some gravel grit. It looks amazing. And then at the same time they're working on that deck, the what you drive over, the bridge deck, they were working under the bridge and going to the vertical cracks and using an epoxy mixture. They drill into the cracks and coat it, put these little not suction cups, but they're plastic ports. Then they have this injector pump that mixes two different types of epoxy right before it goes into the crack, and it fills those cracks for the whole entirety of the crack vertically. So they start at the bottom, fill it up to the next port, and so on, all the way up the bridge. And the bridge looks amazing. And so now TDOT's coming back out. Now TDOT is using this same technology in some of their other projects, but we'll see if it meets their approval. But hopefully that project, that epoxy treatment of the bridge, was about, let's just call it $65,000 as compared to many millions of dollars to replace the bridge. So
Mhm.
if that works,
Well, not just many millions of dollars, but
and
you
the
shut
bridge
the
is
road
out.
down.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to find alternate routes and things, and this was able to be done in a much shorter period of time, like
Mhm.
months, okay, in different stages. So if this works, I actually used this same technology with epoxy when I was teaching at Riverdale High School in our ag engineering program. We fixed a concrete fish tank, filled those, and that technology was introduced to us from concrete industry right here at MTSU. So
That's
they're
right.
working on developing this technology. So hopefully this will work and it meets TDOT's approval, and we've actually made the bridge stronger than it was, and we definitely made it stronger than it was, and hope we 100% have increased the life of that particular bridge as it stands now.
Sure.
And we're able to do that for less than $100,000 versus more than $1 million. So if we can find ways like that,
Stretch your budget further.
absolutely. So we can repair many bridges for the price of replacing one,
Yeah.
because we're replacing two bridges with TDOT's help. Actually, TDOT is replacing them out on Mona Road and I forgot. There's another one I forgot. But those bridges are like one of them 60 feet up in the air over the river, and TDOT is replacing that whole project. And that was again because Greg went to them with a proposal of like, we need to keep this bridge from the weight limits had even been decreased on those bridges because they were in poor shape, and
Mhm.
TDOT's coming in and just replacing them.
Yeah, because that's not a solution either, right? To
No.
make them less usable.
No, because you decrease the weight limit. People don't read those signs. I mean,
Or they don't
CDL
even-
people, CDL, or they don't know. Do you
They
know how
don't
much your truck weighs?
Exactly.
I don't know how much my truck weighs.
Exactly.
And what if I'm pulling my tractor? I ought to know that, right?
Right.
And so I calculated it once to make sure that everything was right. But yeah, people aren't looking at those signs, and a construction. Think about an 18-wheeler that comes up to that bridge and goes, "Oh no, I can't go across it." Well, now what?
Yeah.
so
Well, then they go, okay, weight limit's 50,000. I've got 60,000.
It's probably close
They
enough,
underrate
yep.
these things anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they stress out the bridge more, or they have a
They make
catastrophic
it this
failure.
time. They make it the next time.
Yep.
But that third time,
They ain't gonna make it,
Mhm.
right? And then we have a catastrophic failure. So we're trying to prevent those types of things. And like you said, there's a lot to it. I didn't
Mhm.
know about any of this. I think one of your original questions was, how did I get on the road board? Well, I'll be honest, like I thought that I knew that my county commissioner in District 6 was probably getting close to the end of his term, like not going to run anymore. And I thought that I might want to be county commissioner. And I thought, well, I don't know. I've never even run a campaign, not since like running for homecoming king at MTSU. So I should probably run a campaign. Let's see what's out there. And the road board was the only thing that I could, or besides school board, but I was teaching at the time, so it's like that's not gonna work. And so I found out about the road board. I knew my road board commissioner that he did a great job, but he had found out that he wasn't going to run for reelection. He had actually contacted me, and so I was like, well, let's do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what it's like to run a campaign, go out and fundraise and do things like that. Um, what the road board member does, we go to meetings once a month. We vote on the budget recommendations from the highway superintendent,
Mhm.
and we vote on contracts. We award contracts for like things like asphalt or culverts. Like I learned more about culverts and oil and lube and things like that. So we open those bids and approve those bids, and that's really where. And we take calls from
Complaints.
complaints. Let's just call it what it
Yeah.
is.
Call it what it is.
I get a
Nobody
lot
ever
of,
calls you and is like, hey, man,
thanks. Y'all
what
do
an
such a great
awesome job on that
Yeah,
bridge.
Yeah,
That's not
so
gonna
that does not happen. So many times they will call back and thank us for fixing a problem, but nobody calls preemptively like, "Hey, appreciate that." you know?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know to call, right?
Right.
So, anyway, that's what the road board. I was like, "Oh, I can do that." I mean, as a small business owner, I know about approving contracts and reviewing budgets and things.
Mhm.
So I felt like I was qualified to fill this seat. Would I be qualified for the highway superintendent? Absolutely not. Not even remotely.
Yeah.
Right. So the road board relies on Greg, our highway superintendent. We rely on his expertise. When he says this is the dump truck that we need, then we look at, and these are the bids I got. These are all comparable. We look at them. Yep, that looks good. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, and this fits within our budget. Okay. Like, I'm not going to tell him, well, I really think you ought to get I
Right.
don't know anything about, asphalt paving, paving machines and things like that. So, but that's what the road board does. And that's what we're responsible for doing. And that has
awesome.
been a challenge for me because Greg told me early in my tenure, he goes, I think you might be on the wrong board, because I was wanting to make changes, right? Like for example, everybody out there listening needs to get involved and go to these planned Rutherford meetings that start this week. I think the first one's on October the 4th, and there's 4 or 5 of them totally scheduled. Go to those meetings and give your feedback about what does responsible growth for Rutherford County look like? What
Mhm.
does land use in Rutherford County look like? Should we be using these step systems all around the county? Go to the planned Rutherford meetings and give your feedback. I was wanting the number one complaint we get is about potholes, and the number 2 complaint is about people speeding. Well, nothing in the road board, like for my responsibilities, has anything to do with traffic enforcement, right?
Right.
But when it comes to helping people, like what are some creative solutions? So I found the city of Murfreesboro has a traffic calming devices, speed bumps, right?
Right.
So I brought that, and I was firmly defeated, right? Like that's not what we need to do. We don't need to spend $50,000 to build a speed hump in a neighborhood. We need to spend $50,000 fixing this bridge. Okay, point taken. But as we look at these new neighborhood regulations, should we include traffic calming devices to be installed at the price of the developer? I think so. And traffic calming devices are not just speed bumps. They are things like divided medians or curves in the road,
yeah.
or actually more narrow neighborhood roads actually slows traffic. If you go out to Buchanan Estates and people will be like, he's just talking about Christianity. That's my area, right? If you go out to Buchanan
Long,
Estates,
straight, wide roads. Yeah,
really
yeah,
wide,
you can drag race down
you
through
can,
there.
and people do.
Yes.
And so people call me complaining about teenagers drag racing, or I say teenagers, they might not have been teenagers. It might have been you. I don't know. But
No comment.
racing in your Tesla. No, those things can get up and go. But
I don't have a Tesla.
I know, right?
Yeah. I have a 4Runner. I'm not beating anybody in a race.
Chris Welling's Rivian, trying to show off now.
Yeah.
But anyway, people call and complain about that or ask for help, and my response is, well, here's the number to call at the sheriff's department. Right.
And there's several sheriffs that live in that neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what would be better, in my opinion, is if we naturally built in traffic calming devices or design roads to do that naturally, so that people can't speed. Think about Case and Lane, all the roundabouts. People, you either love them or hate them, I guess. But no one can argue that they don't slow down traffic.
Yeah.
So can we incorporate those into our neighborhood plans?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yep,
makes a lot of sense. Well, Michael, I appreciate you, man. We didn't even get to talk about your business. We'll have to have you back on for that at some point. But
I appreciate the opportunity. I love your show. I listen to every episode, and when I heard you had when you had other people in government, politicians and stuff on here, I thought, first off, you need to call Jonathan Beverly, District 6 Commissioner.
Huge fan. I'm in Rotary with him.
So good.
Yep, sharp guy.
And but I was like, I will come on and talk about roads because people just don't know about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's
certainly not the process.
Correct.
The behind the scenes.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about everything, but
yeah.
But like public works and drainage easements and things like that. But there's a lot to it, and they can call me. They can find me very easily. Go to just do Rutherford County Highway Department Road Board members. My contact information is on there, and I invite all of your listeners out, regardless of where you live in Rutherford County, on October the 30th at 6 p.m. We're gonna myself, Caleb Tidwell, who's the Zone 3 school board member, and then Jonathan Beverly, who's the District 6 commissioner. We're going to be holding a community forum, and you can just show up. Each of us will have a short presentation about what we do for our people in our elected districts, and then we're just going to open it up for questions and talk.
Where's that at?
This is going to be at Crossway Baptist Church out on 231.
Okay.
This is our second one that we've done. We did another one earlier this year, and or I guess it was last year. It was very well received. I really enjoyed it. Got to educate people on what we do, just like we're doing right now.
Well, and here's the thing. So my challenge to you is this: is people complain all the time about transparency in government and, the government did this and the government did that, blah, 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 blah. The most impact is had at the local level.
100%.
Right. So if you want to hold your local elected officials accountable, let them also communicate back with you.
Correct.
Right. I want accountability out of my county commission. Okay. Well, then did you show up when that commissioner made themselves not just available, but opened the books?
Yep.
Right. And said, here's what's going on. Ask me anything.
Oh, I love
Did you do that? Did you show up? If you didn't, shut up.
Jonathan was very well prepared last year when we did our forum, because he knew, he got elected, and then boom, we have a budget crisis.
Yes.
Right. And he knew that there wasn't enough money to pay the bills. Right. So he did a very good job of explaining how the tax dollars are used and what they're used. And any of us are open to tell me what you think we should cut, Jonathan, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
If it can be cut to be more efficient, we'll do it.
Or how about this? You talk about government waste. Did you see something that I didn't?
Yeah.
Because if you did,
right.
Tell me,
because I don't know of any departments that I've been involved with that are wasting money. Now, there may be some out there, but
probably is.
It probably is. I mean, you can't help, right? there's always a little bit of waste.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you waste money in your personal budget?
I think I might have.
I am certain that I do.
think I might have stopped and got a drink on the way in, like sorry, not at Cedar Glade Bruce, but at the gas station. I got a Polar Pop, right? So, anyway, all of the elected officials are open to your feedback. So, and there's no secrets. All of our meetings, well, the highway department meetings aren't, but every other elected body is live streamed and then archived on YouTube. You can watch them all. I listen to all of the meetings in my car or while I'm mowing the grass or bush hogging on my farm. And
You're really bored, aren't you?
I'm a nerd. And I listen to your podcast and a couple of other on Spread the Positive.
It just gets worse.
I know. That's what I like to do to stay informed, and it's easy for people to do that. And your elected officials from Zone 3 and District 6, we're trying to make ourselves available. And if you have any concerns, come to the community forum. It's again 6 p.m. on October the 30th. It's at Crossway Baptist Church. You'll have myself from the road board, your county elected commissioner, and your school board member will all be there to talk. More growth is coming, more responsibilities, more bridge repairs, more schools, more county services. We got to pay for them. So you want to come help us come up with creative solutions to do that? Come to those community forums. And if you want to have an impact on what Rutherford County is going to look like moving forward, attend the planned Rutherford meetings.
That's it. Show up.
Yep.
Love it. Man, I appreciate you.
Thanks
for all that you're doing.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Trent, thank you for helping spread the positive back there. Looking dapper in those blue blockers. Yeah, looking good. Yeah. And anyway, if you've got a story to tell, let us know. We'd love to have you on Spread the Positive Network on one of the appropriate shows for
Got it.
That's it. Well, I appreciate you.